Awesome. All right. So now we ring the bell, round two, dive into the NFT arena. Um, I think my thinking has been modified slightly since our last talk. I'm curious if you guys have given any more thought to what we were discussing or possible avenues we could take.
Yeah, I did some research so that I could sound smart. And so I'm just gonna repackage the things that I heard smart people say as if I thought of these myself. Um, and because I was wrestling through this tension of this feels like a bubble. It is a bubble in my opinion. And at the same time, it feels like a forever change in the way we live, like NFTs specifically, right? And so I was wrestling through that, and I heard a few people give some good commentary. I think it was Gary Vee that kind of said it well, and I'm not a big follower of his, but I thought he said it well that you know kind of that concept that the next few years are likely super volatile in the NFT space, but we can separate that from the impact they have long term. And so I think that's helped me settle into being okay, because I was like, I'm not okay with the fact that this is a massive bubble and I know it. And it's going to hurt most people coming into it thinking that there's a lot of value in a lot of this artwork being created. The volatility, just like people that are new to crypto, the volatility is shocking. But that doesn't mean I have to just say NFTs are a bubble, they're not good, stay away. I think I just want to keep my focus on, and maybe our focus directed toward behind the bubble, beyond the bubble, what is the impact long term? And then can we tie what we're doing in the garden to that, whatever that is, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. I think that's the right perspective for crypto in general.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think we're in a
Yeah,
bubble, like every which way you look.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about you, Pete? Any insights brought down from the mountains?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. It's got to be more than the art, right? It's got to be the community, and it's got to be how you're going to tie that in. And I've recently participated in my first minting and my first kind of big drop, and it was a lot of not fun, to be honest. They didn't communicate very well, and you're in these Discord chats with these guys that maybe don't realize these digital comic books that they're buying are also a bubble and go up and down. And it seems like, I mean, as amateur as you can find yourself in the crypto market, this seems like times 10 in these Discord groups where it's just like people panicking. There's other outsiders that have been sent into these groups to create FUD. And
really?
and so they gate these communities by you have to own one. So once you're past the first gate and you own the NFT and you're in that discussion, it's a completely different tone. Your vested interest, everybody's nice to each other. The guys that are outside the gate that are just like wondering what to do or if they got a good investment or don't know, just to like verify their NFT, and then they get into a different group. They're just getting hammered by these bad actors, and literally it is off-putting experience in the crypto realm that I've seen, and it makes me want to do it right. You know, it makes me want to like, there's a couple ones that aren't like that, and I recently just bought into the wrong one, and I don't even know if it's the wrong one. Maybe this is the cycle of what we're at right now, but definitely interesting seeing it from the ground up and how just malicious it can go quickly, I guess. So,
you know, it's really interesting because even in this handful of calls that we've had together, I feel like my whole perspective has shifted and shifted again. And I'm really like learning moment to moment, which is why I think this type of conversation is valuable to be sharing. Because I mean, you just had that experience, Pete. I haven't had that yet. I'm still kind of on the other side of the wall, seeing what looks like a really cool thing for creators and early movers to get in on. And Josh, your perspectives each time have really brought me back to center of what we're really trying to do in the garden, and how these are a toolbox that allows us to create experiences or you know, ownership in a community. And what does that mean? And what are we actually trying to drive there? Are we trying to just give everyone, you know, a door prize that goes up in value and that's what they're expecting? Or are we trying to just build something that's really unique and serves as an example of how these tools can be crafted to drive the types of actions that we want our community to be doing. So I just want to say from the outset that like this has been tremendously enlightening for me, and I've probably gone 180 degrees, and then maybe, you know, there's been a lot of kind of finding the way, but I think I know what I don't want to do. And I don't want to have one of these just, you know, huge hyped up, you know, exit scammy things that it seems like a lot of them are. And on the other hand, you know, I don't want to have something that is truly valueless and is just sort of like a, I don't know, like a crappy door prize or something. Like I think there's something in the middle where people can be really proud of owning some piece of the community, and it is incentivizing, you know, a few actions that we want to drive. And so maybe it's just like figuring out what those outcomes are, or what, you know, we want this to ultimately do for our community. And then we can see if the pieces can actually line up to do that.
Yeah. I think that's well said. And I think we talked about this last time a little bit, but I think one of the things that's missed, that gets missed in the in kind of the current NFT scene with all the artwork, is how dynamic they can be. And some of the ones with the artwork are dynamic, but you know, like Pete's mentions a few different projects that have depth, layers, time, all kinds of things built into the smart contract, whether it's incentives or just it's dynamic and it changes over time. And I think that is an interesting opportunity for us to tie NFTs to community, because the community is dynamic and it's changing. A garden's dynamic, it's changing. And like, you know, even the rocket one that you guys have brought up multiple times, where there's different parts of the rocket, just things that are not just a one-off minting of a digital representation of a physical object, right? But some kind of dynamic experience or membership experience or whatever that is. That to me is very interesting. And I think that's where you see NFTs come out the other side of whatever bubble might be there and have all kinds of application beyond what we're seeing now. So that's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, there's some cool things also that you can do for members. Like we could potentially produce an NFT that's at cost for members, and then we're selling them to non-members at price or whatever, you know, at a markup. And then potentially we can be airdropping the future NFTs. That's one of the coolest things right now is they're instead of, I see them trying to incentivize, not just dumping it once it goes live. So they do that by having an airdrop a couple months out. And so the people that hold on to their NFTs a couple months out get another free airdrop. It won't be free for everybody. It'll just be free for members. So I think tying that kind of thing into the NFT growth, or however we tie this into a membership card for the garden, cool, because it can keep growing. And if it does, you know, if it is something with utility that people find value in and the price goes up, you know, then we're dropping other NFTs that have an expected value out on our community for at cost or cost that to grow as well, you know.
So I have a pair of ideas here that just sort of popped into my head as you were talking, Pete, is that I think there's two opportunities here. There's probably more than that, but there's two ones that I see. One is what came up in our Sunday chat, which is, can we just create a platform where garden members can mint and produce NFTs that are their artwork or whatever they want to create, like just have a sandbox where we can kind of be playing around with these. And we're not hypesters. We're not going to be, you know, pumping Twitter like this set's releasing blah. But, you know, if Eddie, who was talking on the call the other night, like if he has some really cool paintings or something that's, you know, important to him and he wants to put them up on our NFT platform, and now just within the community, we're kind of exchanging these, I don't know, items of created interest. That to me is like one application where there is sort of a investment. There is like an expectation perhaps of those things holding their value or growing value. And so that in and of itself is a cool idea. And I think that's separate from this idea that is more and more where my mind is going, is like the user experience as facilitated by NFTs where I'm not expecting that I'm going to sell these things for a huge amount of money, or like the economics are not the interest. It's more like, how do we solve the problem of someone like Watson shows up and he's got all this talent. He wants to create videos. He wants to be a master gardener. But what does that actually mean? You know, maybe the NFT can actually be a mechanism for someone to be a master gardener, almost in a Animalville, whatever, you know, kind of game space where you move into the garden, you get your little patch of land, you're somehow earning seeds. Every time he's posting a video, he's getting some water. He's actually like growing this manifestation of his impact. And then we know he's a master gardener because we can go look at his NFT and it's like, holy cow, he's got trees and fences and buildings. And like, you can see that visually. I mean, think about Bandito right now. She would be a master gardener. You know, Cello would be a master gardener because they would be getting this payout based on their contribution. And then it just kind of drives that process, you know? But that's very different from any concept of like, these are then going to be turned around and sold to the public, because it's not really the intent there. We're just trying to get people to contribute another type of value other than money. So I don't know if maybe teasing those two things apart and maybe treating them separately, and maybe even having teams that approach the two different avenues could be a good way to tease apart what we're trying to do. And I'll put it this way, like, I feel like, Pete, you're more clear on the platform aspect, or like, you know, minting these things, creating things, the value. So maybe like we can have different conversations around that. And then we can have another conversation around like I don't know. I'm sure you guys see what I'm saying. I'm just saying it a different way. I don't know why.
We spun up the platform if you want me to show it to you real quick.
Oh yeah.
If that'd be helpful. So this is pretty easy to do. So Artiva is like NFT platform as a service. And there's two pieces you can spin up on Artiva. So we have the garden mint, where anybody can come in and mint an NFT, right? And so you just create some artwork. You drop your artwork here, you give it a name and a description and a share percentage, and you mint it. And the drawback here is this is Ethereum. So this costs like $4 million right now to mint an NFT gas fees. However, these are all automatically pushed to Zora as a marketplace, but we also have our own marketplace where we can auction these NFTs. And so you would mint your own NFT and then you would submit it for auction and we could approve those. And we would have our own gallery and that would be set up here. I haven't set any up, so you can't see anything here, but that would all be kind of contained in the community if we wanted it to be. So we just did this really quickly to see how quick we could do this. And literally, this is the easiest thing to do. I mean, Artiva is super simple. Again, I think one of the issues there is it's Ethereum and the fees are unbelievable. So I'd like to explore a Solana or some other options, but this is the best NFT platform as a service option that we found right out of the box. So just so you know, like we could spin this up tomorrow and throw on an uncomplication NFT just as a starter, you know, just to say, hey, look at how this works, kind of do a demo and start letting the community play with it if that's something we wanted to do.
How do we, on this platform, how do we gate people who can create on that page? Is there any kind of login that we can control, or can any public visitor create something there?
I think we have to invite creators. I'll ask Nick about that, about exactly how it works. Yeah, you have to invite the creators to work with you. So we'll have to figure out how to do that at scale with our community, but I think that's something we can solve.
See, even that in and of itself is kind of exciting, because we can just start actually creating these and learning and seeing what that process is like behind the scenes. And so just as a platform for the community and keeping it simple, I think that's pretty cool too. If someone wants to promote their NFT and, you know, do the marketing behind it or whatever they want to do to promote it, we can at least enshrine it in this, you know, space that's part of our community. So I like the simplicity of it. I'd be not happy, but willing to, you know, pay an Ethereum gas fee to at least, you know, mint one of these and just see how it works. And
Yeah.
and we could just use that as an example with the community.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
it's an investment, right? Like it's a
Mhm.
way for us to invest in understanding this space, especially as NFTs get off of the Ethereum platform more and more, right? You're seeing more and more other blockchains that are going to be supporting NFTs. And so I think that'll be very interesting with this cross-pollination across these different blockchains.
Has nobody figured out like an L2 solution for NFTs yet? Like you actually have to touch the L1 and mint every single NFT on Ethereum. It's crazy to me.
It is crazy. Your NFT doesn't cost as much as your gas fees. People were paying $1,000 gas fees the other night on this,
And you
told to do so. Like, yeah, that's what you got to do, man. It's like, what? Like, because when there's gas wars, right? When they have these drops, then you only have like 10 or 15 minutes to do it. And everybody knows that. So you have to, you have max, right? So that's one of the cool things with the mint is that you can let people mint over 48 hours, right? Where it's just closed, there's no rush, do it whenever you want to do it. You guys can get up late or stay up early or whatever you want to do and mint at your leisure versus a 10-minute jam dash war paying $1,000. And yes, you better do it or you're not going to get one. And these kids don't know any better. So they're like, yeah, let's get it, you know, and then all of a sudden your whole margin is blown because you think you're getting it at a mint at 0.09, right? And then you throw in your gas fees and you're really paying 0.15 ETH. And then you're seeing it on the auction at 0.12 in between there. And you think you're up and you're down 3, right? And it's like, it is not obvious. It is so predatory and so not, you think you're getting predatory in crypto, bro? Start playing around with $1,000 comic book drawings. It's intense.
Just to be clear, you can mint on these other blockchains. Like I know you can mint Solana and others. They're just there's not a platform as a service like there is in Artiva, and that's what Wayu is. The promise of Wayu, right, Pete, is being able to mint these NFTs on these other platforms, but they haven't put their platform out, or these other blockchains, they haven't put their platform out yet.
Yeah, well, right now it's OpenSea, right? They have the lions, they have the market share. And that's even crazy because then they have this blue check certification where you go through this like background check basically of your NFT to get this blue check because everybody and their mom at the beginning of an NFT drop is copying the name, putting like an apostrophe in there and trying NFTs. And that's from that's from the best auction site, right? You're getting scammed, openly getting scammed by that. Not their fault, but by using their logos and using their stuff, you know, and it's just like, man, you have to be really, really slow. Like, and there's tricks, and this is why there's so many gates. Like you have to go back to the Discord and only out of the Discord, knowing who the creator is. This guy, the last one I was on this Rogue Society. So this guy, Leche was his nickname or his call sign. He literally said, the only time you can believe anything is if I'm literally typing it in this channel. You know, and you're getting farted from all these crazy spots. So to have, you know, in the ethos or ethos, however you say that, of the Crypto Garden, be a guide in the crypto space, having a little bit of a guide in the NFT space would be cool. It'd be a cool value add, it'd be a cool tool to have, you know. If you're trying to do this NFT, some pet pics, you know, or some kind of birthday like that for your kid that you want to last forever, you know, you don't need to be getting crazy over it. It's another thing with the ether that was off-putting on OpenSea is it's a one-time 0.05 ETH fee, which has since I didn't know that, but since I wanted to get out of this last robot cartoon that I just bought, I would have had to pay $400 of my one-time commission just to sell on OpenSea. And I didn't know that beforehand, right? When you sneakily do that when gas fees are really low and all this other kind of stuff, you know, but paying at the top of the market ETH and paying these crazy gas fees that I've had right now, you're just your commission to be able to interact on the market right now was costing me as much as my NFT. And if you didn't know any of that, if you're just on this site and you haven't been interacting with MetaMask and doing the math and all this crazy stuff, there's no like easy guide to do that at all. Get wrecked.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's funny too to see like your view of these things change in like a couple weeks from like really enthusiastic and seeing the opportunity like most people are to like having these experiences. So I think, just the wisdom that you're sharing right now is super valuable as people do FOMO into this. It's like a whole nother abstracted layer of crypto that is actually like bringing out some of the worst aspects of, trading tokens in the first place. I'm almost thinking like you need to do a weekly, like just NFT focused kind of, production. Pete talks NFTs.
A lot of talent that, like that guy, John English, I keep bringing him up, but I mean, that guy is just like, he knows different creators. So when all this stuff was happening when we were kind of started this subgroup within the garden to kind of watch this drop happen, he's like talking to the creators while this is happening. So it's a tiny little community, you know what I mean? And so not that hard to get versus like, how do you know what the price of Bitcoin's doing, right? Nobody really knows, I don't think, but you can kind of, not necessarily the price, but you can kind of figure out some pertinent information while this drop is going if your team is bigger, so it would be cool to have a little bit kind of an NFT style or a focused kind of maybe classroom or something.
Yeah.
But it sounds like so much of the value right now for these first movers, these people that are controlling this space, which sounds like a small number of creators relative, is just first mover advantage. They just know the technology, know how to mint these things, which brings me back to the bubble's even worse than you think. Like, because eventually, and even now, anybody can mint an NFT right now. It's just most people don't know how to do that on their computer, get into the terminal, type in the right things, deal with the blockchain, right? And so OpenSea or whoever, it's a cash grab on fees right now, right? And then there's like this grab of fees, and I don't know. I don't want to get too negative down the rabbit hole. It just, that's a real turnoff. I mean, what is the value? I don't know. I have a hard time. I like the art, I really do, but $3,000 or $4,000 for some pixelated whatever, is the value really about the art, or is it just the frenzy of the space and the fact that these first movers are creating something that's better than the picture of my dog that I put out there? I don't know. I don't know how to articulate that, but that's, I don't know.
I think it's also like, it's like when Doge started running, right? And it was like, why is this asset going? And maybe we're 40 and up, maybe we don't get what these younger crowd are putting value on, you know what I mean? And so when you throw in CryptoPunks or you throw in some of these kind of what we think is not that catchy of art, there's a whole generation that does think that that's catchy of art. And I'm not saying that it's not a bubble, but for me, the big NFT is to teach it, to treat it like a community that just keeps adding to itself. Like there's music NFTs and there's other creative NFTs where you're cultivating a group of creatives that could present their artwork into a bigger marketplace than they otherwise could if it wasn't NFTs. That's cool. Or like the conservation idea where we're generating conservation dollars through the sale of NFTs or through these different experiences that you couldn't get without an NFT. I think there's a lot of value in that. Is there a lot of value in the Bored Apes Yacht Club? Maybe for the people that got in, but for the malicious part is all the other people that are trying and saying that they are the Bored Apes Yacht Club and throwing a pretty catchy cartoon together and then just pulling the rug at the end of the day,
Yeah.
And that's gonna happen anytime you have, a comic, and these drawings are worth millions of dollars now. There's a lot of bad actors when you throw in that kind of money. Just unfortunately, in any industry, in any work, you know what I mean? When NBA players start buying the Bored Ape Yacht Club, other people want it. And it's just that it's the ugliest thing of crypto. It's right there. Of NFT, you want to see the greed, you want to see, value put on things that you can't touch. It's all right there and it's in your face. I feel like it's kind of like tobacco ads geared towards kids.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, like it's, who's buying comic books? Yeah, I know I went to comic book stores. I grew up in those things, but I and I'm not saying that I I still see the cool, I still think it's cool. I don't spend all day doing that. You know, unfortunately at 40, I have to do other things, but you know, I think to say that comic books aren't geared towards a younger crowd, I think that's ignorant. You know, and then you throw in crypto geared towards younger people, it's dangerous. It's a little sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great analogy because I really look at crypto trading like an addiction at this point. And I think a lot of what we do in the garden is like a support group for people that have maybe, you know, caught that bad edge of something that was, you know, giving them a huge endorphin rush. And NFTs are like that, but with a cartoon cat smiling at you on the label, and like even more abstracted that it's all just in Ethereum fun bucks. And I don't know where kids get allowances but there's definitely that generation that has disposable income and they're just like piling it into this space. So I don't know, my interest in NFTs went from like, whoa, this is cool, I'm an artist, I want to like make a living, or you know, like I want to be part of it, to like I want to harness this technology to do something different and cool and set an example for other, you know, communities or corporations or people that want to like understand these building blocks. To now the third one that's even more strong is like what we've always done, like be a voice of reason and an educator, and hey kids, like don't smoke cryptos, it'll rot your soul. But like I think some combination of those three things is where I'm still really drawn to NFTs as a concept, because it is like a boiled down microcosm of what crypto is in general, and it needs all the same, you know, kind of help and education and respect. And yeah, I'm glad we're having these conversations though, because this is how I get educated. This is how next time I'm sitting down at a coffee shop table and someone asks me my opinion about X, Y, or Z, like I now feel like I have a much broader perspective than I did even a week ago with my one little, you know, crypto Rasta experience. And like, yeah, it's fun, it's exciting, kids. Like, I don't know. So I think there's value in even what we're doing right here.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess we're now those old guys that we used to be.
Yeah.
That were like crapping on the internet as we were growing up. But yeah, and I think we all agree, like I'm more excited probably about NFTs than I was when we started these conversations. It's more like I'm frustrated because I want this initial bubble to get out of the way, right? Like I see the bubble because I love some of the artwork, and I'm not saying it's not valuable, but it's like I just want the bubble to get out of the way so that the value, like the real exciting stuff, these dynamic ways of structuring contracts and assets and whatever it is that we come up with here at the garden, and get to the fun stuff. You know what I mean? And so that's probably where I'm coming from, more than, oh, this is all just worthless. You know, in fact, I think it's actually there's more value than I even thought, when I just thought it was a digital representation of a physical artifact or a recording. You know what I mean?
So can we plow ahead and ignore the bubble and just like do it our own way? And or do we have to kind of wait for things to settle down, or maybe even for some better platforms to make it actually affordable and feasible to take some steps? We're definitely not going to ask every garden member to mint an Ethereum smart contract and pay 10 times their annual garden membership fees to create some icon.
I mean, for me, I was most excited about it when I realized how many crappy NFTs there were. I don't know if you remember back then, I was like, oh my God, getting paid off this crap. What if we did one right? You know, and then that whole conservation NFT came up, where you buy the camera traps and all that kind of stuff, right? So for me now, even being more, you can't, like, knowing from experience is different than knowing from reading a book. I feel like now I've known from experience that if you can produce a quality NFT, there's some real value there. There's some really dynamic things that you can do with these that's already proven to attract big dollars, big life-changing dollars, that if you could laser focus those into conservation in this area, or hunger or water rights, or whatever that's going to be, I think you could get effective, and I think you can make an impact. So I think I'm with Josh, where I'm more stoked now than I have been, because there's just so many predatory NFTs. There's so many crap ones out there. What if we did it right from the beginning? What if we built the community from the beginning, from the ground up? And this isn't about a fix and flip crypto, get rich quick. This is about, I'm going to hold this thing for the next 20 years, whatever that is, right? I'm going to keep feeding it. I really like the seed idea, however that works, and has some kind of X percentage of the Crypto Garden NFT ecosystem goes to some philanthropy that we get to decide as a DAO, or however we decide what the flavor of the year is that we're going to try to make an impact on through fundraising, similar to your entrepreneurial past, Ryan. You know, if you focus a community, you can make great impact, you know. And so maybe we do that on a 12-month or an 18-month kind of push through the garden as a community with one focus, where our NFT drive is going to X philanthropy or conservation or whatever that's going to be. I think it'd be cool to watch it work.
So here's my suggestion then. Let's maybe wind down this call. I think we covered a lot of really interesting ground. I love how different this was even from our first discussion on the topic, but let's set another time to connect on this. And if you're game, I like thinking with mind nodes. I just love that as a visual that we can have in between all of us. And let's maybe start mapping out conceptually, you know, some of these ideas. And maybe we come up with 5 different ways to do it and we hone down on one. But it'd be fun to take, you know, if we wanted to raise money for a conservation project, or we wanted to create an onboarding kind of experience, like just kind of go a few layers deeper into what we'd have to figure out on any one of those paths, but maybe just kind of creating some concrete conceptual something, you know, on the table while we discuss next time. And that might kind of give us a roadmap, and we can pick, you know, which one we want to tackle, or if there's something that we thought we wanted to pursue but don't. I think it'll just kind of give us something tangible to hang a hat on and share with other people who might come in and help.
I like it.
So maybe like early next week, get through the weekend, maybe like Monday or Tuesday, we can come back and see if we can put
Maybe
some
we
structure.
Somebody like an interview too, you know, in between now and then. It'd be fun to interview somebody that's actually done this. I'm guessing at what a mint is like, just as the user experience. It'd be fun to get something and been like, yeah, it's kind of like that, but you didn't think about this or whatever it was. You know what I mean? So maybe in tandem with that idea that you had, maybe we're trying to track down an interview in tandem with that as well to try to just.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the timing is, but I would love to, you know, if I don't know who it might be, but if there is someone who's an expert on a specific part of our you know, outline, that we could actually flesh out some of those branches with an expert, you know, at the table, so we're not just assuming as much. But I think the big vision probably would still just be the 3 of us, you know, taking it from the first conversation to this to now kind of mapping out a couple possibilities, and then we can get serious and bring in the experts as we know what direction we want to go.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it's easy to find. I know we're expanding the conversation we're trying to get off, but I'm sure it's easy to expand or find an expert on the NFT as asset, right? But I think maybe I'll do some research too on NFT as membership or community badge or whatever we're going to call it. Does that make sense? Where it actually isn't meant to be an asset that has a marketplace. Maybe, I don't know, but anyway, so maybe I'll see if I can find anybody that's doing that, or, you know, we can talk about it, and maybe we do each as an interview, because I do think those are 2 very differentiated use cases right now. Cool.
Awesome.
All right, fellas.
Yeah, this is great as always. Yeah, let's call it there, and let's get back together next week, and we'll go the next layer deeper.
All right, talk to y'all later.
All right, cheers guys. Thanks.